dive is all about uncovering what makes a software engineer stand out.
Okay,
And thankfully, you've given us the perfect example to work with, James Onanero.
sounds good.
You've shared his LinkedIn DEV community profile, even a peek at his GitHub.
Wow.
Someone's doing their research,
Yeah,
ready to see what we can learn from James's journey.
absolutely. And what's striking right from the start is that we're not just looking at a resume. We get to see how James presents himself professionally and engages with his field. That tells us just as much as any formal list of skills.
Totally. It's like getting a glimpse into his personality, right? Like on his DV community profile, he describes himself as a full stack engineer interested in learning and documenting my journey. I don't know about you, but that screams passion project. To me, this isn't just a job for James, it's something he genuinely connects with.
And that enthusiasm is contagious. It's clear he's not just here to clock in and clock out. He's earned badges on DEV Community for his Python contributions, not just dabbling, but a real commitment to the language. Plus, that one-week Community Wellness Streak badge tells me he's actively participating in discussions, sharing knowledge, and learning from others.
He's walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And it's been going on for a while, too. Those club badges show he's been a consistent presence on the platform. You know, sometimes I think publicly building your expertise like that is even more impressive than a fancy degree. It shows dedication.
Absolutely. It suggests someone who sees the value in community, in continuous learning. That's someone you want on your team, someone who elevates everyone around them.
Couldn't agree more. Now, to give you an idea of his technical toolbox, he lists Python, no surprise there, given his DV community activity, but also JavaScript, Java, and PHP. That's a pretty diverse skill set for a software engineer. What does that tell you about James?
Versatility is key in this field, especially with technology evolving so rapidly. It shows he's adaptable and can jump into different projects with confidence. Speaking of adapting, you mentioned James enjoys documenting his journey. This extends to his blog posts too, like the one on LinkedIn titled Queues, Stacks, Scheduling, and Life.
Okay, that title alone has me intrigued. It's like he sees the connections between the technical world and everyday life, right?
Exactly. He's not just writing code, he's finding deeper meaning in the concepts. That kind of thinking often leads to innovative solutions because you're not confined to just one way of approaching a problem.
I can already tell this deep dive is going to be full of aha moments. So, we've got a feel for James's personality, his approach to learning, but now let's get down to the nitty-gritty of his career. His LinkedIn profile is practically begging us to dive in.
And what a journey it reveals. A clear path of someone who's not content with just staying put. James is all about seeking out opportunities to grow and make an impact.
Love that. So, he's currently a software engineer at Trend BizTech, been there a few years, which tells me they value his work. But to understand his trajectory, let's rewind a bit, back to his earlier roles.
Excellent point. Before Trend BizTech, James was a software engineer intern at Keeble, gaining valuable experience in a different environment. And even earlier than that, a fascinating position caught my eye. Program facilitator at Data Science Nigeria.
No, that one really piqued my interest too. It hints at someone passionate about more than just their own career, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. This suggests a commitment to fostering digital skills within a specific community, and that often comes from a desire to give back, to create opportunities for others. This isn't just about writing code, it's about empowering people through technology.
Exactly. And think about it, who better to teach than someone who truly understands the power of these skills? That experience at Data Science Nigeria likely gave James incredible insight into how people learn, the challenges they face, all invaluable in a field like software engineering, where collaboration is key.
Couldn't agree more. It's likely he developed strong mentorship and communication skills there, qualities that can make or break a project, especially when you're part of a team.
Speaking of teams, let's fast forward back to Trend BizTech. James lists some impressive achievements from his time there. What stood out to you?
Several things. Implementing a microservices architecture, for one. And if you're not familiar with that,
Do tell, I'm all ears.
imagine building something with Lego blocks versus one giant solid structure. That's essentially what microservices does for software. It breaks down an application into smaller, independent services that are easier to manage and update without affecting the entire system. Think of a website like Amazon. You've got your shopping cart, payment processing, user accounts. all working together seamlessly but as separate units.
So instead of one massive code base that's a nightmare to update, you've got these smaller, interconnected pieces making it easier to scale and maintain. That makes total sense, especially for a company like Amazon that's constantly evolving.
Exactly. And for James to implement that successfully at TrendBiz Tech, it speaks volumes about his technical capabilities. But it's not just about the tech, is it? He also mentions leading a team of developers to successfully complete projects.
Right. Leading a team, implementing complex architectures. This isn't some solo coding genius working in isolation. That tells me James understands the big picture of software development.
Precisely. It highlights his leadership qualities, his ability to collaborate effectively, and his understanding of project management principles. And let's not forget, he improved database performance by 25%. That's huge.
That's not just a line on a resume, that's a tangible impact on the company's bottom line. I bet Trend BizTech was thrilled with that optimization. It reminds me of this time.
Oh, do tell.
Well, I was working with a small startup, and their website kept crashing because they couldn't handle the traffic. Turns out their database wasn't optimized, and it was causing a bottleneck. They brought in a software engineer, kind of a James type, who streamlined the whole thing. Crashing stopped, sales went up, everyone was happy.
There you go. A perfect example of how those seemingly small optimizations can have a ripple effect on a company's success. Now, if we rewind back to James's internship at Keeble, remember how you mentioned he's focused on back-end web applications on his GitHub page?
Oh, right. And at Keeble, he was working with Node.js and TypeScript for backend development, along with UJS for the front end.
See the connection? It's almost like he sought out that internship specifically to gain experience in the areas he's most passionate about. It demonstrates initiative, focus, and a desire to align his work with his interests.
It's like he had a plan, and he was deliberately building his skill set. That's inspiring. It's not just about taking any job. It's about finding opportunities that fuel your passions and help you grow. Speaking of passions, let's dive into those insightful comments he's made on DV Community and LinkedIn. I find it fascinating to get a peek into his thoughts on collaboration and mentorship.
Me too. It's one thing to be technically skilled, but quite another to be a valuable team member and mentor. And James's comments really showcase those qualities.
Totally. Like, remember that comment thread about providing feedback on comment? He talked about going beyond just initial feedback and suggesting further improvement.
Right. It's the difference between saying, this isn't quite right, and here's how we can make it even better. He's focused on constructive criticism and offering solutions. Imagine the positive impact that has on a team's dynamic.
And that mentorship mindset is so important, especially in a field that can feel intimidating to newcomers. It creates a welcoming and supportive environment where everyone feels comfortable asking questions and learning from each other.
Exactly. And it's not just about being nice. It's about fostering a culture of continuous improvement. And speaking of improvement, remember his comment about navigating differing opinions within a team?
Oh, yeah, where he said, get things started even while debating the architecture. I loved that.
It speaks to his pragmatism and a bias towards action. Sometimes we can get bogged down in endless discussions about the right way to do something, but James recognizes the value of just getting started. Often, the act of building and iterating reveals the best path forward.
Totally. It's like that saying, don't let perfection be the enemy of good. Sometimes you just have to dive in and start experimenting, which, now that I think about it, is kind of what this whole deep dive is about, right? Exploring, experimenting, and seeing what we can learn.
You could say that.
Okay, one more comment I want to highlight before we move on. It's about time management for software engineers, something I know a lot of us struggle with.
Oh, for sure. It's a constant balancing act. Writing code, testing, debugging, collaborating, keeping up with the latest technologies, the list goes on.
It's a jungle out there. So James recommends using tools like Jira and Trello, no surprise there, right? But it's his reasoning that really struck me. He says it cultivates the habit of getting things done on time in the long run. It's not just about hitting deadlines, it's about building sustainable habits for the long haul.
It's like he's thinking beyond the immediate project. He's thinking about building a career, a life, where he's consistently delivering and exceeding expectations. That's a powerful mindset to have.
Absolutely, and it ties back to that whole theme of continuous improvement we've been seeing throughout his journey. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from his technical skills to his community engagement, his work experience, his personal insights. It's like we've assembled this incredible puzzle of who James is as a software engineer.
And what a picture it paints.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what direction might someone like this take their career in? What kind of roles would attract someone with James's unique skill set and passions?
Right. I mean, based on everything we've uncovered, he's got options. Could you see him diving even deeper into the world of microservices architecture, maybe leading a team building complex systems from scratch?